Hello and welcome to GreenFleet Talks. My name is Kate Armitage and I'm your host for today. I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Walters, Head of Consultancy and Customer Data Services at LeasePlan.
Hi.
Hi there. Following the government announcement at the end of 2020 that ICE new vehicle sales will be banned from 2030, Matt and I are discussing electric vehicles. So Matt, we've heard only this week that both Ford and Jaguar have joined the OEMs that are putting their weight behind electric vehicle technology. With over 200 plug-in passenger cars and an increasing range of electric vans, what does this mean for fleets that know they have to transition to zero emission?
I think for me, what it means, and for certainly for our customers and those that we're talking to, that there is not a conversation that doesn't lead with EV and sustainability anymore. Mm. So if I think about my day-to-day job in speaking to customers about fleet policy or cost reduction, there's always been that kind of cost angle in flight. And as we talk about in another one of these interviews, salary sacrifice for EVs is an amazingly cost-effective way of delivering EVs onto your fleet. So customers are wanting to make that move, and fleets are wanting to make that move, and they're wanting to make it now. They don't want to wait. They talk in terms of, we only want one more renewal cycle at most in our current fleet. So what do we need to do? How do we get ready? How do we move people into an electric vehicle? How do we understand who is able to drive one now and who perhaps can only go into a hybrid for the time being? There's almost two stages. And so most fleets will now be looking at, what do we need to do from an infrastructure point of view? How do we support our employees? Are we unionized? What does that mean? What do we do about employee recharging? What do we do about public access charging? How do we pay someone for their fuel? How does reimbursement work? So there's there's the operational side, I guess you'd say, in operating an EV fleet. But there's lots and lots of that you can be doing now ahead of when you make a decision as to when you go to EV. So even if you don't think you're quite ready as a fleet, or you're still a bit nervous about the technology, then there's plenty that you can be doing to prepare yourselves. And I would encourage you to start that journey now. As you well know, Kate, there are some very exciting, quite niche product coming in the next couple of years, but there's some very exciting product coming. ID4 has just launched, for example, so that's just gone onto our quotation platforms in the last couple of weeks. So that's kind of mid-sector SUV, mid-price, good range, to add to the already incredibly popular ID3 product. So we are seeing what I would call kind of the entrant market, because not everybody, particularly from an end user perspective, if you're going out just to lease a vehicle on a PCP or a PCH product, you don't have the benefit of an EV salary sacrifice scheme. A Polestar 2 or an EQC at £50,000-60,000, all the way up to the e-tron at kind of £80,000. That's big money. That's a lot. Whereas now we're seeing the entrants that are kind of just about sub 30. Little way to go, but that's a lot more palatable.
Did the job, but there is so many coming to market now that's really going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and Kona and Ioniq and Nero are absolutely flying out of the doors, so to speak.
Yeah, because people have been waiting for that vehicle type. Policies and incentives around both the vehicles and the charging infrastructure. So is that enough, or what more would you like to see coming from government in terms of policies and incentives?
Big area for me still is around infrastructure upgrades for work premises. And one of my bugbears, one of my small hills on which I die still, is the fact that you can claim 100% first year allowances for your charge points that you install at work, and there's a government grant that tops that up as well, which is fantastic. But if you need to upgrade the copper to the building, or you need to make a local grid upgrade, It's your cost. Your DNO will not foot that cost. And that cost can run into hundreds of thousands. If they were going to do anything more, I would say that's an area for them to look at. And we as lease companies, what would be really good for us, if we're going to be really greedy about this, is if we could claim first year allowances on the purchase of the electric vehicles. So if you think about what a leasing company does, we go and buy a car, it's 100% business use for us, which is great. We lease it on. There's restrictions on the finance elements because we're leasing it on for personal use in the main. But when you go and buy that vehicle as a company, you can claim 100% first year allowances, which is very tax efficient. You don't get the benefits of our buying power and the VAT. You're not leasing it, you're buying it yourself. But if we were to get our first year allowances and then we were leasing it on and passing that benefit on, that would make those vehicles even more cost effective for fleets than they are already. And that would be really, really good to see. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
Well, you can keep it on your wish list, Matthew.
So the last one in that if you like, trips the switch in terms of capacity is the one that's going to bear the cost. They won't come knocking on your door to share the cost. No. They will simply charge the first. So if you're first and you go first, it's less likely that it's going to be you that bears the upgrade costs.
Yeah. Okay. So the power grab has started.
Yeah, very much so. Very good.
Good. Okay, well, I think that's about all we've got time for. Thank you again, Matt, for joining GreenFleet Talks.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Please tune in to GreenFleet 365 again soon.